Rolf, welcome to Conversations with Deborah, a bi-coastal dialogue heard exclusively on malcolmpresents.com, a new streaming platform heard solely on your internet. Good morning or good afternoon or good whatever it is, Deborah.
It's Friday morning, June the 24th. My heavens to Betsy. Where has this year gone, Malcolm? I do not know.
Well, I think that the older, at least the older I'm getting, the faster the years go by. I mean, I find it incredulous that they say, and if someone says the year 2000, I say, 2000. That was 22 years ago.
I know.
I mean, there's a whole new generations. These kids have graduated. They were born then, are graduating college.
Yep.
I have a grandniece that was born in the year January 1st, 2000.
Fabulous. There you go.
This I remember, her birthday all the time. I know the 20 and how old she is. I know
there you go.
The 23 should be 23 on
there
January.
You go.
And then there's another niece that I trace back because she's 2 months younger. So I know she'll be 23 in November.
There you go.
It's a way of memory, but it seems like it's unbelievable that it's 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's true.
Says 1990. Oh yeah, I remember that. 1990, 32 years ago. Oh my God. I was a young man then in my prime. I'm still a young man in my prime.
You are still a young man. I'm still a young lady. And that's all that's important. We have at least good 20 years left to go on this. You know that, Malcolm.
Well, if the earth lasts that long.
Oh, stop it. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, I want to talk about it a lot, but some of the things really don't affect our lives in a way. The thing that affects our life is weather. So how's the weather in South Carolina now?
It's great. It's perfect. We had a hot, real intense heat wave. It came all the way from, of all places, Southern California, where I used to be a native until 6.5 years ago. I moved here.
Did you bring it?
I guess so. I'm a former news reporter myself until, as I say, decided to get into the residential lending business, which was fabulous, and then owned my own company for quite a number of years, which was fab. But the weather here, we were at a feels like temperature of 120 here in San Souci. We're just north of Greenville downtown, which is about 2 to 3 miles or so, and it was something else. So we had to put fans out there for the chickens, and we brought all of the cats inside to make sure that they were fine. And this week, though, been perfect. We've been able to do some of our yard work out there, and it's been great. The gardens are fabulous because we get unbelievable amounts of rain. Unfortunately, you folks don't.
You don't.
You get probably 5 inches, anywhere from 3 to 5 inches a month, which is fabulous for our plants. So I've really enjoyed my gardening. I wasn't able to do any gardening in Southern California, especially the last years that we were there. But the garden here is
we get 4 to 5 inches a year.
I know. And it's funny because we're now growing all of our own vegetables. We've got a tomato crop that is just winging its way, and also blueberries, and doing all of our own herbs and what have you. So we're prepping for the big inflation hit. So and our gas prices, we're starting to come up into $5. You're where, mid sixes again, or anything?
Right. I think
coming
we're
down
a few cents each day.
You're coming down a little bit?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
But it's expensive, put it like that.
Yeah.
I don't drive as much as I used to.
Well, we're down to right now, we'll drive maybe 2 to 3 miles every 10 days or so. So our budget now is every six to 7 weeks, we have 1 tank of gas. So that's basically the way we're handling it. So
well, I think for maybe a Christmas present or something, I'm going to get you and Fish a bicycle built for 2.
Wouldn't that be lovely?
Both of you could pedal, or one of those tricycles,
Wouldn't that be fun?
I hate to say.
Oh, you can see back over here. This is one of my most favorite cats. This is Miss Gracie. Miss Gracie, how are you? Hi. She
seems to like you also.
She runs the household here. She's our matron of sorts, and yeah, she runs the household with the two boy cats in here. I'll tell you, she has an iron paw. She's a Margaret Thatcher type.
Anyway, so anything new that you want to talk about this week?
Well, I'll tell you,
News?
what a week this has been. Um, Malcolm and I have known each other for about 20 years, and he used to be our producer with my late husband and I. We did a program called Real Money where we talked about finances for average, normal, everyday people, and that's how we developed our friendship. And we've kept friendship for all of this time, and we vowed to find some common ground.
2 decades.
Yeah, it's true. And
In fact, I was thinking about, just in the space of time, I remember meeting you. I mean, we knew each other, but I remember when my son started Santa Barbara,
yes,
and then we went for breakfast one time when he was a freshman, right? So he's been out of school now, he's graduated 5 years ago. So that was 9 years ago.
it's just remarkable, isn't it?
Anyway, getting back to the news.
Well, as a news reporter, I always showed both sides of things. That my job was to show both sides and to make sure it was done fairly. However, out of the news business, I am an avowed libertarian, and I vote oftentimes, however, with the Republicans. I did vote for Donald Trump. Both times I voted for Donald Trump because he's a businessman, and I think his policies made some remarkably good changes here in America. I didn't like a lot of his tweets. I would always grit my teeth as I was watching him talk about people, which was very irritating. But nonetheless, his policies were good. Malcolm, you are more towards the liberal side of things, so that's the reason that we talk together.
My question is, if he's a businessman, how come he went bankrupt about 5-6 times already with all his businesses?
Everybody goes bankrupt 5 or 6 times.
No, I don't think so. I don't think where he lives his debtor, he lives the bank, and he leaves his creditors in the lurch, and he doesn't pay.
Oh, be that as it may, let's get on to the next topic.
Okay.
First, we watched a historic day today. It came down this morning, about mid-morning or so, and the Supreme Court overturned the abortion of Roe v. Wade.
Roe v. Wade.
It was. I must admit, I was relieved, to be very honest with you. I am a fundamentalist in terms of constitutionalist. I want to see the Constitution followed. And what Roe v. Wade did was it took the power away from the states. And what the Supreme Court did this morning was to bring it back to the individual states to make the abortion decision from the individual states. And I was very relieved that there was at least an institution that was not being overruled by the mob. We have seen picketing outside of all the conservative justices since there was the Supreme Court leak 3 weeks ago, and we've yet to find out who the leaker is. My suspicions is it was a Supreme Court judge, not just simply a clerk, but that's unfounded information. But I was very glad to see that they had the guts to be able to say, right is right. The Constitution does not have a constitutional guarantee for an abortion. It needs to be decided by the states, and I'm fine with that.
We're taking the thing, a constitutional right for abortion, but is there a constitutional right for a woman to control her own body? That was the issue.
Well, but once again, there is no constitutional right for an abortion. I mean, I listened to Nancy Pelosi and the crocodile tears and the flailing of herself and all of that. It's monstrous. It's just absolutely monstrous. It's politics. I think that returning it back to the states is where it needs to go, because I'll tell you, each individual voter in each state, you now have the opportunity to call your lawmakers and make your feelings to be heard. I do not oppose abortion, and that's where many of my Republican buddies here in South Carolina are very upset with me. I do not oppose abortion. I do oppose abortion when it comes to beyond 15 to 20 weeks. You have a living human being at this point right now. And you know what? Doggone it, Malcolm, you know whether you're pregnant or you're not. You take birth control, for crying out loud. You don't take a chance to go ahead and try and beat the system and hopefully not get pregnant. You know, it's just, when I was a news reporter, I had to cover a case of Dr. Waddell in Orange County. And this is where I guess I got some of my real human feelings about this whole issue. It was a late term abortion, and they ended up taking the fetus out, the baby out, and throwing it into a trash can. And a nurse went by and heard the baby whimpering. This was a late term abortion. This was a child. This was a human being. And when you listen to the testimony of the nurses and you listen to all of the evidence that was being said, he was convicted of murder because, in fact, what he did, he had a viable baby. And rather than allowing it to go into adoption, allowing it to even have the father, for crying out loud, the father was very upset that the baby was aborted. And I think that abortion also completely does ignore the father's role in all of this. You got to have a male and you got to have a female in order to be able to make a baby. And what I don't understand is liberals who ignore the importance of fathers in this whole abortion issue. It's not just the woman's control of her body, it's also the man's, because the man has to be there to be able to produce and to have the beginnings of a fetus and a beginning of a baby.
Yeah, but how many fathers, really are against the, that a woman wants to have an abortion? How many families are there that the father just walks away from the family? In fact, not even abortions. How many fathers walk away from when they have kids and just walk away and disappear because they don't want to support the kids?
Well, bottom line is you're assuming. I have not heard anyone standing up for the rights of fathers who want to be able to adopt that aborted baby rather than aborting the baby to take on the child. And I have not heard anyone crying out for fathers' rights.
Yeah, but the question is,
doggone it, there are fathers' rights.
Right, but how that seems to be the exception versus a rule.
I don't think so. I don't necessarily think so.
I don't know. I don't have the numbers, but for not, well, just on the welfare rolls, there's so many mothers that have that are single parents that the father is not there.
Well, the problem, of course, with welfare is that the way the government is put it together is if you do have a father that is there, you don't get welfare. So there's a bit of a system, a bureaucratic problem here, forcing fathers out of the equation. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right.
Well, they always can fake it. They always can say they're not there and be there. But now the question is also, I agree with you in late term abortions in certain instances, but that should be up. And this, I think there was a certain period that abortion was illegal after a certain, gestation period. But we're talking about, I think, I think it was, I forgot what it was. It was like 4 weeks or 6 weeks. It's illegal after that.
No. And for example, the case of the Mississippi, this is what brought this whole thing about to the Supreme Court. The limitation was going to be 15 weeks. 15 weeks is a lot of time. And you know that if you're pregnant or not, and you don't need 15 weeks to decide.
But I think it was in Texas.
It's absurd.
Texas were 6 weeks or 8 weeks.
I beg your pardon?
I think it was in Texas that they had it.
Well, once again, it then falls onto the individuals who live in Texas, the voters who live in Texas, to make that determination. I think it's extremely important that the individual voters get involved and make this decision and make it for individual states.
In other words, you're not anti-abortion. You're states' rights versus federal rights.
I'm a constitutionalist, meaning let's follow the Constitution. The Constitution does not have a constitutional guarantee for an abortion. The
Well,
states have the ability of making that decision in terms of banning an abortion or not banning an abortion.
the original Constitution didn't have the ability for women women to vote, or for slaves to vote.
Right. And what did we do? We changed it. We had amendments.
So in other words, you think there should be, if you want abortion, it should be a constitutional amendment that it's.
No, I think the individual states will take care of it. There will be plenty of states, California, New York, Illinois, there'll be Oregon, Washington, there'll be plenty of states
Right,
and
but-
plenty of companies that will say to their employees, we will give you travel money and remuneration to be able to get your abortion. That's fine.
Okay. Well, wait, but there's certain, so you don't believe there's certain states that when the abortion law comes through, I think Texas might have been one of them, where it's illegal to help a person get an abortion?
Well, once again, that comes down to the individual voters in the state. I think it's a little nuts, to be honest with you, but I'm not in Texas, okay? If that's what the voters have decided,
But they can do it.
what's that?
They can make it illegal for an employee to help an employer get an abortion.
Well, then the interesting thing is, then you can go ahead and travel to Arizona, New Mexico, or to California. And many companies, as soon as that Supreme Court decision came out, you're looking at Amazon, Uber, Microsoft, Apple, a whole cadre of companies, Citibank, Bank of America, all of them came out and said, if you need an abortion and you need to go to a state that does abortions, like California or New York, we'll pay for it.
But
That's the way it needs to be.
But how about if in the states that they do that, it's illegal to help a person get an abortion?
Well, once again, that's not going to be the case. You're not going to be able to constrain people not to be able to leave from the state of Texas. Anybody, if they want to leave the state of Texas, they can leave the state of Texas.
Right, but they can't come back.
Oh, for crying out loud. Would you stop it, Malcolm?
They can leave it. And the company can be fined or sued or put to jail.
No. Don't think so.
If they say it's illegal for you to aid a person to get an abortion, and you aid a person to get an abortion, you're committing a crime. I don't know what the penalty is.
Once again, I don't believe that is what the law is. But once again, maybe next week, if you could bring that law to me, that would be great. But that's not my understanding of the way the law is. It's my understanding that if there was an abortion in the state of Texas, which has said you cannot have an abortion past X number of weeks, that in fact you could have criminal liability. So once again, it's designed to be able to say that beyond X number of weeks, say 15 weeks, that you cannot assist because the fetus is now in fact a baby. It's got arms and legs and it's a beating heart. So
I have a hypothetical question for you.
Sure.
Which I was just thinking, and I don't know if there's an answer. Well,
All
let's say a woman is 12 weeks pregnant, and she decides that she doesn't want the baby in her body.
Okay.
Now they say you can I forget what the period is that the baby can exist, or can be you can put in an incubator or something that will survive.
It's coming close. That 15 weeks, 12 to 15 weeks is coming close.
Okay, so let's say after 15 weeks, she decides she doesn't want the baby in her body.
Okay.
Can she request that the baby be taken out of the body and put in an incubator and raised by the state?
I don't know.
I mean, shouldn't she have that right?
Well, once again, she can go ahead and go to the states that allow abortions and have the abortion.
Let's say she doesn't want an abortion. Let's say she goes to the state and says, okay, I don't want this child anymore. Take it.
Well, you know what I would suggest? If you had a situation like that, I would probably go to a Planned Parenthood, or I would probably go to a state agency. That there's many agencies, private charitable agencies, that in fact might possibly want to go ahead and undertake that. I think there would be a lot of people that would. I mean, it's unbelievable the medical advances that they've made in being able to do preemie babies and keep them alive. It's remarkable.
Right. So then the whole industry is for preemie babies. You don't want your baby, you're 15 months pregnant, we'll take it from you and raise it.
Sure.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I just want the child, I want the child to have a good life.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
but how about, can you, how many children right now
Mhm.
are with foster parents or or in orphanages or do not have a family? Isn't there a group, many people, many children are like that now or unwanted? And
Mhm.
aren't there many, so why would they have a good life if it was an
Well,
unwanted child?
once again, I mean, it all comes down to personal responsibility. Why in the world, when we have the advances in medical science, why would you not be using birth control?
I mean, I'm in agreement with you. You know, you should be, but what happens if you don't? What happens?
Well, if you don't, then you have an abortion early on. You don't wait for 15 weeks
Well,
for
what
crying out
happens?
loud.
What happened? Or is everybody smart? Is everybody like you?
No,
Does
no, no, no,
everybody
no.
go to
But
college? Are there
I
people?
understand that. I understand that.
Are there people that don't have any common sense?
I understand that, but I also realize that we're part of a community as well. And I understand that, and I think what you're talking about are very few and far between individuals. My point is that the Supreme Court's decision that overturned Roe v. Wade simply says we will now have the states make the decision.
Okay, so yours is a simple decision: is it states' rights or national rights or
Yep,
federal rights?
yep.
So the woman does not have any constitutional right to
No,
control her body.
the woman has a right within her particular state. And once again, if you want to have abortions, you make sure that your lawmakers bloody well know that you want to have abortions,
Sure.
period.
Or-
And I think it brings the control back to local voters, which I didn't appreciate the fact that Washington that was making the decisions. I think it needs to come back to local control, period. End of story.
Well, the thing is, you're talking about local control. If I think it's like 63% of the American population are for abortions. So
Yep.
why are half the states abortion is illegal? Right now, I think there are 26 states
Mhm.
that abortion is illegal.
Okay.
So 26 states, and what part of the population is that?
Well, I must say that if you are living in a state that is opposed to abortion, then you better get off your hind end and tell your lawmakers we want abortion here. Period. You tell your lawmakers that, and you tell your lawmakers that's the way we want abortions.
Well, I know that's what they should do, but if it becomes states' rights. So going back to forgetting about abortions, what do you think about the Supreme Court's decision to have concealed weapons?
Once again, I was relieved. I was relieved because the New York New York State, the origins of their conceal and carry permits go way, way back to a very corrupt form of government back, I think close to 50, 75 years, in which the government made a decision as to which people should have concealed permits and who should not have concealed permits.
This is
All that being
City.
said, the Supreme Court came back and said, the reason that we're going to say you cannot have preferential treatment for concealed carry permits is because you cannot abridge, you cannot cut back a constitutional right, which is the Second Amendment. You can't do that. Now, do I feel comfortable in a state, because here in South Carolina, we do have conceal and carry, and a lot of people conceal and carry, and the Supreme Court said you should be able to have the ability to protect yourself, not only in your home, but outside your home. And based on the amount of crime because of the defund police movement that's taken place here, I have a tendency of saying, I think it would be a good idea that I can protect me and my family when I'm out and about. Now, do I feel comfortable at times in South Carolina? No, I don't. If I have a situation where I am in a store, for example, and I see not a police officer, but I see an individual carrying a weapon, I'll be honest with you, I walk out of the store. I don't need it. So I just simply walk out of the store.
So would you feel safe like going back to your California days, so you would feel safe driving on the freeway when you know every other car might be carrying a gun? Or when you
Well,
see the road rage that's
well,
happening today?
of course, the problem also at this point right now is who are the people that are carrying guns right now? Guess what? The criminals. I mean, we've seen this in Chicago.
Okay, the
Go ahead.
criminals were not going to help. I mean, there are other laws for that. But how about the average person who gets pissed off? Who you know, how many people when you're driving, yell at you,
Zero.
or give you the
Zero.
finger? Well, in South
Why?
Carolina,
Why is that? You are just aware of the trigger points with people. You don't cut people off. You don't honk your horn. You don't give them the finger. It's those little things, a little bit of being polite. You don't want to enrage people, for crying out loud.
you never honk your horn in traffic that someone is
No.
not paying
No,
attention?
I don't. And the reason that I don't is, once again, I want everybody to be aware of the fact that, I mean, who knows what's going on with the other individual in the car? Keep your horn to yourself. Do not give people the bird. Do not cut people off. Get out of the fast lane if you are not traveling 65 miles an hour. It's pretty simple.
But actually, that's one of the reasons that I don't know if we cover it in the show. I'm not driving that much anymore. Why? I've gotten older. My reflexes are slower, so I don't like driving as fast.
Yeah.
And I noticed that even on city streets, and people are whizzing by me on the left-hand lane, and over here in Los Angeles, it's like 35 miles an hour, but they're going at least 50. So I stick to the right lane. But there are times when I'm on the right lane and there's someone double parked or pulling out and I have to go to the left lane.
Yeah.
And if I'm on the left lane, people are starting to beat me because I'm driving slower. But
well, but I bet you're not giving them the bird, are you? You're not giving them the middle finger.
But no, because if I had my gun, I take it out and I shoot.
Oh, for God's sakes, you would not stop it.
Because I believe in the old thing, the survival of the fittest. But again, if people have a permit to carry a gun, I also think they should have a license that they know how to use a gun.
Well, and that's where you and I agree, absolutely. And I think it needs to be like a driver's license. You need to be able to know how to handle your weapon. And there's no excuse. There's absolutely no excuse for not being able to know how to handle a weapon. It's a deadly weapon. It's a deadly weapon. Okay. It's not like a frying pan, although I guess you could use a frying pan.
Yeah, but you have to be up close with a frying pan.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying. I get the training. Just because you have a gun, you need to know how to use it. You need to know how to keep it safe. And you know what? You need to know how to keep it locked up, for crying out loud.
Right.
Hello.
But now that they're passing some sort of gun control law now. I think they said it passed the Senate. I haven't read it. But are they restricting 18 to 21-year-olds from buying guns?
From what I understand, I haven't had a chance to read it either. And once again, my Republican buddies are all upset that I'm actually supporting it. I don't think there's any problem with raising the age. I know that everyone's saying, well, they can go ahead and 18-year-olds can be in the military. Why can't they buy a weapon? I don't know. Seems to me that you need to be 21 if you're in the Army or what have you. You're kind of controlled by your sergeant, for crying out loud. So, but I think 21 is perfectly fine. The red flag laws, I'm a little concerned about the red flag laws only insofar as I don't want, without due process, guns to be taken away just because my next door neighbor doesn't like the fact that I'm a blonde or I'm tall or whatever the case may
Well, I
be.
can see if you're blind, they should take it away.
Well, maybe, that's possible.
Yeah,
Excuse me,
that
Matt.
seems to make logic to me.
Yeah, right. A tall blonde with a gun. Oh my God.
But are you able, well, I think in South Carolina, you're able to walk around with a rifle.
Yeah, but once again, the area around here, quite rural. There are in Greenville, it's very much a metropolis, all right? But there's huge swaths around us up into the Blue Ridge Mountains. We're 22 miles from the border of South Carolina and North Carolina. So there are lots and lots of areas where people have rifles, guns, and blah, blah, blah. So,
Do they have AR-15s?
oh yeah,
Why does someone have to have an AR-15?
well, I guess it's why somebody wants to have a Jaguar or wants to have a Camaro or something like that. I've never really understood it. I've never understood it.
Is that part of the originalist constitution?
No. Stop baiting me here, for heaven's sake. Stop it. Stop it.
To bear arms?
Stop it. No, bottom line is, I'm not sure, why somebody needs to have a gun like that, but it's not banned so long as they're not going to go. And once again, the Vivaldi, the school, and I'm pronouncing the town incorrectly, I guess. Oh my God, apparently the police officers that were there, the door, everyone said it was locked. It was not locked, apparently.
Well,
and they stood out there and did nothing. And what the devil is going on? So, once again, now the gun enthusiasts are using that as a reason as to, why to support gun ownership and all of that. Sorry, this is Max's tale.
Well, you're 11 years old. You should be able to carry a gun in Texas.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. But how horrific to listen and how unbelievable. And then once again, lock the freaking doors.
Yeah,
when you and I were kids, we had locked doors, we had locked outside doors. And why don't we have locked doors?
Actually, I saw the movie on it. It's an old movie. It's called The Keystone Cops.
Oh God, yes.
And that was it. Okay, before quickly our show's up, what did you think of the Senate reports, the January 6th? And not necessarily the reports, but what do you think about how ex-President Trump went around trying to change the election?
Well, once again, he was doing research. It was not supported by facts. Now some of the facts are starting to come out. You and I, in terms of was the election stolen, blah, 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 and all of that. Once again, I'm a news reporter still. I'll always will be. And I want to see the facts. I want to see the evidence. Finally, some of the evidence is coming through. It's been a year and a half since the election. So he had the right to be able to question all of his people.
No, but he wasn't questioning. He was trying to direct. He was trying to direct.
Once again, he did. But what's interesting about it? All of his people basically said, if you're going to direct me to do this, and I don't recall the gentleman's name, then I quit. And at that point, that's when Trump backed off.
Trump has not backed off to this day. What are you talking about backing off?
Listen, you got even Hillary Clinton saying that the election was stolen from her.
but Trump hasn't backed off yet. He says.
Well, neither has Hillary Clinton, for crying out loud.
With that thing, we have to go and debate next week.
That sounds great. So have a good week, all right?
Have a good week, yeah. Well, next weekend starts the July 4th weekend, isn't it?
Yay, it'll be grand. Are you going to be flying your flag, huh?
I'm going to be flying my flag and flying my plane.
Absolutely. There you
anyway,
go.
Send my love to Fish.
Okay, my love to Anna.
Speak to you later. Bye. Let me find that.